So listen to this. These are the types of dementia. Number one is Alzheimer's, of course, because it's the most profound. 90% of the cases actually 60 to 90% of the cases of loss of memory are associated to are actually classified as Alzheimer's because the most profound condition or type of dementia. So again, as you try to classify dementia, do not just fix your mind on memory loss alone. Because we've talked about memory, we've talked about thinking and ability to make decisions, we've talked about problem solving abilities, cognitive abilities, and now communication abilities, and even slurred speech. We've talked about motion. So do not base your judgment on only one thing. Somebody's mentioning Lewy bodies. This is so amazing because these are people who actually took some time to just study this. Now, Lewy bodies, for those of you who don't want to remember, just Dr. Lewis, remove the S. That remains Lewy. Those are Lewy bodies, types of defective proteins that are so present in Parkinson's and are present in dementia. And you will see where they're coming from. Okay, so type number one is Alzheimer's disease. 60 to 80% of dementia and what that causes dementia is actually Alzheimer's. So it's the most profound type and it's also a cause stroke a type. Good. So in this one, we have things that are called the amyloid proteins. I've told you several times that when you're fasting and you get to autophagy, this is basically in the 36, 48, 72-hour fasts, the prolonged fasts. You get into autophagy. Autophagy is basically your cell has taken, your body has actually utilized all the glucose, turned to glycogen, utilized all the glycogen, turned to fat, burnt fat to get ketone bodies, that is ketosis. And now it is turning to every tissue and cell debris that is there idle, cleans it up, converts them into energy and utilizes it. So that is basically cell cleansing. So autophagy is very important. Even in these people was, and you'll see, you'll start defending it. Oh, you know, my dad is 75, he cannot fast. Well done. Well done. So you expect him to recover by eating 5 meals a day. It's not possible. So this one, the amyloid plaques, you see, the Lewy bodies, the amyloid proteins, where do they come from? We have nerves, the nerve cells. If you know the structure of the nerve cells, you'll see there is a head that has the nucleus, and then there's the cell body, and then you have the dendrites. Those things that look like spikes. Now listen, in that nerve cell, for you to transmit neurons or electrical transmission through that nerve cell, the body, cell body, what happens is, one, for you to transmit faster, you must have cholesterol. That covering or that insulator that is on top of the nerve cells that is called the myelin sheath, it is actually cholesterol. That makes the nerve cells transmit impulses so fast. So the sensory nerves, when you touch a pan and it's hot, you have to retract your hand. That action has to be very fast. So therefore, those myelinated nerve cells, the ones that have cholesterol, are the ones that actually are efficient in this and they transmit energy so fast. That is one. Number two, there are fibers or there are tubes inside that nerve, into that nerve cell. And those tubes are what we call the microtubules. Those tubes are protein in nature. And these are the tubes that actually are made of that protein. When those proteins become defective because of degeneration in the DNA or mutations in the DNA, these tubes start coming out of the nerve cells. And when they come out, they release those amyloid proteins, they release that Lewy bodies that cause you all these problems. So yes, they are your best and they are your functional units of the system, of the nerve cells. But when they are defective, they start now releasing proteins that are actually dangerous to your system. That's where you get the amyloid, that's where you get the Lewy bodies that this gentleman has just mentioned here. And this is what is going to actually hurt your system generally and cause you loss of memory and dementia. So, this one, the Alzheimer, is the most common one. Number two type of dementia. And I would like you to know that I will not go into symptoms of each. Why? Because the symptoms that we've just talked about them generally, and we will see as it spreads outside from the hippocampus. Outside, we start with the retrograde amnesia. You lose memory because of the hippocampus being the first one to be affected. And then as we move up, we go to the speech disorders. As we move out, we go to the mood disorders, anxiety and depression. And then finally, executive functions. What are the executive functions? Decision making, those complex abilities. Now, one of the most difficult or the most complex ability of the brain is, you see, this skill of playing a guitar or a keyboard, that coordination of the fingers and the brain, That is one of the hardest thing to do. It looks like simple things, but in the higher parts of the brain, they're called the ductile movements. They are difficult to perform. I once tried to learn a keyboard. Well, I once tried to learn a keyboard. I I just gave up. I don't know if it's interest. People told me, oh, it's because you don't have interest. I'm like, okay, let me just be interested in something else. I can do something else. But I admit I failed terribly and I gave up, like literally. So those are the movements that are actually affected when these Lewy bodies are released into the system. They affect the nervous transmission and they come in between the nerve cells. And now it becomes difficult for you to even transmit nerve impulses and the messages. And now that's zombie mode, coming in slowly and carefully. Number 2 is vascular dementia. Now I want you to understand, I'm mentioning them in order of how they happen and their prevalence. Okay, so I've told you about Alzheimer's, which is the most common, and number 2 is now the vascular dementia. I told you when we were talking about diabetes, vascular means vessels, macrovascular, microvascular, macro for larger vessels, micro for smaller vessels. Now here we have vascular dementia. I will ask you a question because I want you to be involved. What do you think is vascular dementia? How does it come to happen? She says sugar blocks the blood vessels supplying the brains, and then you block blood supply to the brain, and that causes dementia. Man, what an answer. Imagine that. So, when you see something called atherosclerosis, the same thing that they tell you that atherosclerosis is going to be caused by cholesterol, they're lying to you. Older people require cholesterol to clean up their systems. They need it. So when you see them being told, oh, cholesterol is going to clog their arteries and cause them stroke, stroke was not caused by cholesterol. Cholesterol was coming in to actually repair what sugar, seed oils, and wheat products did to these elderly people. And then now cholesterol is actually blamed for those three. So you blame cholesterol and you ignore the point. These elderly people are constantly consuming sugar, bread in form of brown colors. And now because they are elderly, we start thinking, oh, because they have a short period of time to live, as though you're God, you don't know their life, but you're planning for them. Because they have this, they have to enjoy their old age. And enjoying their old age basically means you taking seed oils to them, you feeding sugar to them. You've made these old people even believe that sugar is a measure of wealth. Kijana yangu hajaniletea sukari. Kijana yangu atatuma sukari. Anafanyia kazi serikali. My son is working for the government, he will send me sugar. So you've made sugar a standard of wealth. And that's how you started killing these people. So your father is actually struggling in the village with diseases because you are actually feeding those diseases. And then you, because you have some small chums, you think you can actually send them money, send them drugs. Those grandparents or those parents in the village, they want you there. Just go there at least once in a month or once. Please be there and just talk to them. They need you. They don't need your money. They don't. I've told you about hypochondria, where the disease is in their minds. They just imagine that they are so weak and they become weak. And now the next thing they are telling you is, unajua mimi nikisikia ugonjwa wa magoti, when I just feel this pain in my knees, that is typhoid. That is my typhoid is coming back. I need those injections. So you're actually killing them. So sugar has become a standard. Seed oils have become a standard. When I was growing up, you would see a seed oil, somebody coming back home with 1 liter of seed oil. That vegetable oil. Oh, this is a village hero. These are people who used to come home during Christmas times and they stage a whole party. They are cooking these chapatis and they are flexing their wealth in the villages. So we used to look at them and like, wow, I want to live that life. I want to enjoy that life. When I grow up, I'm fighting so hard so that I can live that life. So that is what we knew. That's why it's so hard for you to quit some addictions, because you're actually fighting a war from within you. It's not even without. It's not the chapati that is causing you addiction. It's just an identity problem inside of you. Anyway, so you clog your arteries with these bad foods, and then now blood supply towards the brain is actually limited. Okay, now you start having this failing brain, and that's a stroke. And stroke can actually cause you dementia, loss of memory, right? And now you see, the beauty about this is, at least when you start classifying it this way, you can actually understand the symptoms. Because when you see stroke and then loss of memory, you simply understand that is vascular dementia. And again, depending on the part of the brain that is affected, that blood vessel is clogged. Depending on that part of the brain that this blood vessel supplies, you will get different symptoms. For example, if that blood vessel is supplying the hippocampus, you lose memory. If it's supplying the frontal lobe, thinking capacity is now inhibited, but memory is there, but now thinking is a problem. If it's supplying the temporal lobe, now you know balance is going to be affected. But you still have memory, you still have cognitive function, but now you don't have balance. So you see the symptoms are actually different, right? Yeah. And possibly that's the reason why they're just classifying it generally as conditions, progressive conditions. But when you know the causes, again, you know the therapy. So basically, vascular dementia is reversible, right? Because you simply reverse the clogging of the arteries. But imagine me giving you a drug that is called Memorex. Memorex is a drug that has this, the ginkgo biloba, it has the multivitamins, the B vitamins and all that, and omega-3s. And that drug is supposed to boost your memory. Boost your memory so that you can remember things. But if that dementia is being caused by clogging arteries, and then you take a drug to boost your memory, have you fixed what caused the dementia? Of course you've not. So for you to simply avoid stroke, why don't you prevent it? Because this channel is based on the principles of preventive medicine over curative medicine. The word is over curative medicine, not against curative medicine. And again, the information that you get on this channel is not to substitute the healthcare information that your doctor is giving you. This channel exists to open up your eyes on matters healthcare. It exists to bridge the gap between the general public and health institutions. It's there to open up your third eye so that you can actually question doctors and be informed, so that when you consume healthcare, you're sane. You don't just consume it because the doctor said. No, you consume it because it's necessary. So that's what we do, okay? So yes, so that's vascular dementia. And the symptoms, of course, impaired judgment, difficulty in planning, confusion, memory loss, depending on which part is being affected. So that one is an easy one to classify, right? But let's move on to the third one, which is now the Lewy body dementia. You heard them mentioning Lewy bodies. So there's a dementia that's actually caused by the Lewy bodies. Excess Lewy bodies in the system. Remember, your system is designed perfectly to actually clear anything that is coming in. So God designed the body so perfectly that He even understood that you will mess up. You will eat very bad foods because the human mind is always creating. So you'll end up eating crazy foods. And now the system has a mechanism of actually clearing all these things. That's why you need to fast, because when you fast, you activate the cleansing mechanisms of the system. So the body can clear up these Lewy bodies in the system so that they don't exceed the level that is going to become now harmful. But look at you eating 5 meals a day until the day that you die. Even in a hospital bed, you don't have appetite, but you're asking for food. Oh, not just in appetite. It's like now losing appetite is criminal. Huh? You bring me multivitamin syrup in that hospital bed so that I can eat myself to the grave so fast. Anyway, so the Lewy bodies, I've already told you where they're coming from and how they come to happen, but they come in between the nerve cells and they impede your ability to pass neurons and then to think. They even impede the synapses. Synapses are where your nerve cells interact. The more the synapses, the higher the IQ. So if you have things that are impeding formation of these synapses, imagine in children, loss of memory. And again, I want you to unlearn that dementia is a disease that is only for the elderly. It's not an aging problem. It's not. It's a dietary problem. And dietary problems can only be solved through dietary modifications. Nothing more, nothing less. Good. And then there's another one that is called the mixed dementia. Now, when you hear mixed dementia, of course, collection. But this one has only two. The first one and the second one. So if you hear mixed dementia, it tells you we have the first two. Which one are the ones that we mentioned, the first two? If you can remember the first two, you will definitely know what I mean when I say mixed dementia. Yeah, vascular, well done. Somebody mentioned vascular there. Vascular dementia, yes. There's another one. So they are mixed. They have to be two. The first two. So what the vascular dementia was number 2. There's number 1. Let me see. Alzheimer's. Thank you so much, Majani. Alzheimer's disease. Yes, perfect. Good answer. No, Lewy body is the third one. The first two was number 1, the major one, Alzheimer's, and then number 2, the vascular dementia, and then number 3, the Lewy bodies, and then number 4 now it is the mixed dementia. So by the time you're getting to mixed dementia, of course you're eating bad foods, and of course, hey, you're just yani you need help. You need an identity, you need to change your diets, you need super fasting, you need super exercising, you need cold showers, you need, hey, there's a lot to fix here. But the beauty about it is you're never late for healthcare. Good. And then there are others now. Others classified as others. Let me just read this one. Number one, there's this syndrome in people who drink alcohol, the alcoholics, the one that they shake, they lose memory, they have very bad skin, they produce this very bad smell in their mouths because of vitamin B1 deficiency. It's called Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. How about Parkinson? Parkinson's dementia is actually part of these others. Okay, others. Yes, thank you so much, love girl. Thiamine deficiency. Vitamin B1 is called thiamine, and when you have thiamine deficiency, you end up having this condition that is actually most prone in people who are chronic alcoholics. They shake their hands, they can't do anything, they can't reason, they can't think, they lose memory, and until they pick a shot, they can't be normal. That one is actually called the Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. Number two, Huntington's disease. Huntington's disease. And number three, Parkinson's dementia. So those are just classified under others, because remember, we have all these conditions under one umbrella called dementia. So under dementia, we have different types. And since dementia is a collection of these conditions, now you can easily see there's no cause that's actually leading us directly to dementia. All these causes are just leading us to atherosclerosis, leading us to destruction of the brain and the nerve cells. So don't you think medicine is becoming more easier that way? Becoming easier that way, right? When you make it fun, you make it interesting, you add in some stories here and there, relatable stories, it becomes interesting because somebody grasps it easier. But when you come into a class and you're like, let's talk about degenerative disorders. One of it is dementia. Now dementia is blah blah blah, and then these are the symptoms. This is the causes, and then people don't even understand the causes. You're already jumping to this is the pharmacological management, and this is the non-pharmacological management. And when you talk about non-pharmacological management, you just say dietary modifications. You don't tell them which diets should be dropped. And these students that you're training are coming out to say the same thing, regurgitate the same things to the clients who are the patients. So now the patient knows, I have to change my diet. Look at people who are obese. The other day we talked about snoring. People who are obese, they're told you need to change your diet, you need to lose weight. But nobody tells them how to lose the weight. And now, bariatric surgeons and nutritionists, bariatric surgeons and nutritionists, same WhatsApp group. Same WhatsApp group. You walk into a consultation room for a bariatric surgeon, and in the reception area, they have a room or an office for a nutritionist. So he refers you to the nutritionist. And in your head, you're thinking, oh, this is the best doctor. He has referred me to a nutritionist, or she has referred me to a nutritionist. He's the best. And then the nutritionist writes you things that you've been doing anyway. And the weird part, you guys don't ask these questions. Like he or she prescribes bread, and you've been doing bread. The only thing she tells you now, change the color of the bread. Let it be brown. Tells you, eat fruits. You've been eating fruits anyway. That's why you ended there. And now she's telling you, now fruits are healthier. Eat more fruits. You're like, okay. Oh, so my problem is not my weight. My problem is I've been eating lesser fruits. Now you add up on the fruits. Give yourself about 3 months. Now they're like, these guidelines for nutrition are not helping you. I think it's in the genes. Your genes. Who in your family was obese? You're thinking, who was obese? I can't remember. People are lean. Don't worry. Maybe your uncle who died before you were born was obese. Now you believe, by the way, because I had an uncle who I was hearing their stories, he died of stroke. Maybe he was obese. Now they buy your attention. This is in the genes. The next thing is, because it's in the genes, we cannot do anything about it. Either we modify the genes, which is very difficult, it will be very expensive, or the only thing we can do is we can chop a piece of your stomach so that you don't overeat. You can continue eating what you've been eating, but we want to limit the amount of food that you've been eating. So what should we do? We will cut a piece of your stomach, but we will not even change your brain. We will not even change your mindset. Retain the appetite. Retain the appetite in your head. But the stomach is the one that we are cutting. We will cut a piece of the stomach, we will join it, and then we reduce the stomach. Now you'll eat less. Woo! Hey. Nobody tells you about the side effects, the complications of the surgery, the vitamin deficiencies, the affected acid in the stomach. Nobody says anything. Now they've chopped your stomach. Take about a month after that surgery. You'll be back on the same bed. And trust me, you guys are funny. Every time you go back, you pay money to see the doctor, you pay money for bookings. But let Dr. Lewis tell you to book an appointment. You're like, I cannot pay if I've not seen Dr. Lewis. I've been conned before. I mean, did you get conned by Dr. Lewis? So why are you bringing your estrogen to my platforms? Why are you bringing estrogen to my platforms? I did not chop off your intestines. So why? I'm trying to help you recover from your mistakes. And you're coming here with attitude. Have some respect. Eh? Now you've done 3 months. Nothing is happening. You're like, you will never blame that surgeon. You will never, because of course it's a doctor, right? You can never blame him. So you chop off your stomach but still eat the same things. Now the next thing is Ozempic injection. And some of these people, you go to them and they're saying you've not lost weight. They ask you, what have you been doing? I did a surgery, the gastric bypass surgery, or I did a balloon. And then they say, oh, why did you remove it at 3 months? It wasn't enough. You're supposed to take it for 4 months. They add you another balloon. And you simply believe it. And you've done it for 3 months. It got so annoying. Ask questions. Ask them questions. What are the complications? Tell me, take me through this. And you see, what they do is they make sure they play with your psychology. Immediately you leave, they've told you to go and think about it. They will not give you time to think. Their systems keep on sending you that message. Every time remind you, hey, have you changed your mind? The receptionist has been there, done this over and over. And she knows this 400,000 is not going for free because I'll not have a salary. She's busy calling your number. Hey, did you change your mind? Hey, please, you can just come in. Hey, we'll give you a 10% discount. Doctor is doing a 10% discount. At that moment in time, doctor has no patience at all. But you're being told, the doctor is doing a 10% discount and blah, blah, blah. Just come. We'll do a 10% discount. You're like, 10%. So I'm paying 340. Oh, I'll be there. Channel the money 340. Now, you fed that stomach. Surgery after another, another surgery to correct or rectify the mistakes of the first surgery. Drugs after a drug, another drug for the side effects of this drug. And then now you come back and I'll tell you, now sit down. I have to make you unlearn. First, you messed up. You cannot reduce the stomach because you're reducing the acid. So you'll end up having these vitamin deficiencies. You're like, doctor, so what should I do? And now I don't have a stomach. I just have a small portion of a small stomach. What should I do? I'm like, you are not late for healthcare. This is where you rejuvenate your health. You will come back. And now hope is lighted back. You have this light inside of you. And you try it for 2 weeks and you're like, why did I see this earlier? I should have not wasted 400,000 and more doing a useless surgery. Surgeries are for emergency purposes.